Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Market. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Folks, I appreciate everybody joining today. We're going to be talking a little bit about winning more commercial restoration work for your restoration company. We want to show you how business development reps or your sales team getting out there in the community, meeting property managers, meeting these property owners, what they do and what you should be doing online should complement each other, right? So that you can go out there and successfully close more commercial deals. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. I always like to say this, guys. This is going to be about 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you guys have a lot of questions. Silence all distractions. Like if you showed up today, if you put this on your calendar and you made the effort to show up today, turn off the phone, turn off the notifications there, kind of get dialed in for the next 45 minutes. If you're really serious about winning commercial jobs and growing your restoration business through commercial relationships, this is where you need to be. So let's lock in for the next 45 minutes because between Leah and I, Leah's really going to give you guys the blueprint in terms of being successful. Is that right, Leah?
That's right. I'm ready.
All right. Love to hear it. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys are going to learn from us today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about hiring and training successful business development reps, right? This is your sales team. These are the people that are out in the community representing you, your restoration business, to these property managers, these property owners, municipalities. Doesn't really matter what it is. They're out there securing the relationships that are going to take you to the next level in terms of securing more commercial business. So we're going to talk a little bit about best practices in terms of hiring, training, and setting those folks up for success. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how to stand out, right? Because just because you have a sales team and they're going out and they're knocking doors and they're meeting these folks doesn't mean they're successfully converting those interactions, right, into successful relationships. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you and your sales team can really stand out so that you can secure more of those commercial opportunities. Finally, we're also going to talk a little bit about how your online presence can really either make it a lot easier for your business development reps or could create a whole mess of problems and have them basically, swimming uphill, if you know what I mean. So we'll talk about all three of those things. Also, we want to make sure when you guys walk away today that you guys have some actionable strategies, things that you can implement right after today's webinar, right, with your sales team so that you guys can position yourself to get more consistent commercial opportunities for your restoration business. Leah, why do you think commercial accounts are important to restoration companies when they're looking to grow?
They are absolutely your key to scaling because once you land a commercial job and you provide great service and great response time and you check all the boxes that meet their needs, they become a repeat customer. And it's not a one and done. Most residential customers, how many floods do they have in their life? How many plumbing issues do they have in their life? Not that many. So rather than constantly chasing residential customers, go after commercial that can send you repeat business and daily jobs.
I think you want to, absolutely. Commercial can really take you to that next level, help you scale that restoration company. I think it's important to have both, right? Because no matter how good you are at securing those commercial relationships, those aren't a guarantee, right? Somebody else can walk into that door, and you want to make sure that you've got as many marketing channels as possible so that you consistently have revenue coming in, you consistently have jobs coming in, you can consistently go out and hire your next technician, invest in your next service vehicle, open up an office in another market there. So in addition to that, they're high revenue, right? Commercial jobs traditionally, depending on the extent of the water damage, those are bigger tickets, right?
Oh, they're a lot bigger tickets. I mean, I think statistically, I think the average Residential job is maybe around $5,000 for a mitigation job, and in the commercial side, that's about $25,000.
And that's just the mitigation. That's not counting any contents, any rebuild work that needs to be done.
Correct. So yeah, they're much larger tickets, and the beautiful thing about them is very rarely are you dealing with insurance when you're dealing with the commercial customers, because their deductibles are so high. They're usually around 50,000 or higher. So, obviously if the job loss is under 50,000, they're not making any claims. You're not dealing with that bottleneck of trying to get insurance to pay.
And once you've secured those relationships, if you do a good job in that first loss, right, what are you going to get? You're going to get repeat jobs from them. And most of these folks don't own one business or one building. They've got multiple buildings with multiple units, right?
Millions of square feet of property. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. And you have to always remember, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There's so many different verticals of commercial work out there. So you got to really make sure you spread your wings and touch all the different types of commercial businesses.
Now, there are restoration companies out there that want more commercial business, but they don't currently have a sales team out there creating those relationships. Some people look at that as an investment that they may not be looking to make. Let's talk about what just the average, not a rock star like you, Leah, but the average sales rep in restoration, if they're out there, they're creating those relationships, they're looking at a minimum of $500,000 worth of additional commercial revenue that they can bring to that business.
Oh, yeah. I think what you just said, that's a minimum. I think it's easy to pull out about $1 million a year in commercial work.
All right. So if you do not have a sales team, we're going to talk a little bit about who you should be looking for, who you should be hiring, how you should be training them, and we'll even take it a little step further in terms of best practices to make sure that they have a little bit of a competitive advantage when they're walking in to meet with those property managers. And if you're not doing this, make no mistake, your competitors are. Right? Most of you guys, I see the names. I know where you guys are located, right? You are not the only restoration company in town, right? Most of you could throw a rock from your warehouse and hit another restoration company. If you're not out there looking to secure those relationships with properties, with the commercial property managers out there, somebody else is, right? Somebody else is getting that relationship. Somebody else is ultimately going to get that commercial restoration revenue there. Leah, tell everybody what market you traditionally work in.
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
All right. So I'm going to guess, just based on the conversations that you and I have had and my experience doing some digital marketing in that area, you guys at Icon Property Rescue, you guys weren't the only game in town.
Oh, heck no. No. There's an easy 15 other competitors, probably more, but 15 that I know of.
All right. So it's important that, like you guys identified, if you guys aren't out there pounding the pavement, making the relationships, creating those opportunities, they're not going to magically just come to you, right?
No, they're not. They're not. They definitely take work, and you have to have BDRs out there building those relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing that I've learned is that your commercial clients, they want to do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust.
100%.
So that's what you've got to do. You've got to build trust and build relationships.
I think that's the case in every business, right? The reason clients come to our agency is because they know, like, and trust our team. They think we can do what's necessary from an online perspective to help take their restoration company to the next level there. For those of you joining me, that got this email or saw us on social that don't even know who I am, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer over at Water Restoration Marketing. We are a digital marketing agency that works exclusively with restoration companies. We have for the last 8 years. We've worked with hundreds of restoration companies and allowed them to use digital marketing to grow their business. I'm very fluent in SEO, web development, paid ads, Google Business Profile optimization, and I understand the importance of positive visibility for a restoration company, not only when they're looking to get those residential jobs from people that are on Google doing a search, but also when their sales reps are out in the field trying to create those relationships, right? What that property manager sees when they go and Google that restoration company is just as important as what that person says when they walk in the door to try to solicit that business. Again, we've been helping restoration companies for 8 years. I've got a team of about 25. We are absolutely completely focused on our clients' growth. And that's why I wanted to bring Leah on to today's webinar, because there's things that we can do well from a digital marketing standpoint, but there's other ways that we want to impact our clients' business. And part of that is obviously helping them secure some more commercial jobs there. Leah, I'm going to go ahead and hype you up, man. I really appreciate you joining me on this. Leah Hanlon wears a lot of hats right now. Am I underselling that, Leah?
Oh no, I have too many. I can't fit them all on my head.
All right. So currently, the two that I know you for is one, you handle franchise sales over at One Tom Plumber. And we're going to get into a little bit more detail about how restoration companies are plugging in that franchise to bring in more commercial business. But you also are actively a business development rep for Icon Property Rescue out of Ohio. And you've been doing that for years. Absolute rock star. When we got on here earlier, for those attendees that were not on yet, you talked a little bit about what your average revenue is that you're generating for Icon in commercial. Do you want to give us that again?
Yeah, of course. I've been doing this for 13 years now, but the last several years, I average around 2.2 to 2.9 million just in commercial work with
Got,
Icon.
got, God, I want you to listen to that, right? If you're a restoration company owner and you do not have, probably not going to get a Leah, but you can get somebody good, right? If you can get the right person in there, they can add an additional 7 figures plus to your bottom line, right? Through commercial work. You said you've got how many years of experience doing this?
13.
Let's take a second and talk a little about your journey, right? Because you didn't necessarily start selling right out of the gate. Give the audience a little background as to how you got into the restoration space.
Absolutely. So when I first started 13 years ago, Rocky had brought me on board to had kind of a couple of roles, but it was all business development. But it was to go after plumbers, build a relationship with plumbers to send them for them to send us the referrals for mitigation work. Called on insurance agents and adjusters, trying to get obviously that residential work. And then thirdly, it was to build relationships with fire departments so that they would call us out for board ups so that we could obviously get the mitigation and large loss rebuild on fire jobs.
All right. So during that process of getting in there and becoming just a rock star business development rep, when Rocky and his team went and started the One Tom Plumber franchise, you decided to come be a part of that because you saw firsthand what utilizing this strategy can mean. And the role that you have is not only in franchise sales, but it's also in making these new franchisees successful through hiring, training, and having business development reps that really hit the ground running in terms of going out and securing these commercial accounts.
Right. So as I mentioned, all of the sales I did early on, although some of that was commercial, right? Calling on, insurance agents and adjusters would be considered commercial sales. It was completely different. Like we were missing the boat. We were not calling on universities and hospitals and real estate management companies and, large property management companies. So when, Rocky decided to change up the business model a little bit, he spun off the board up business that I was running, sold that off. And so we were no longer going after the large lost fire jobs. So we no longer needed those relationships with fire departments. Diverted my attention and started going after large commercial property management companies like Cushman and Wakefield and CBRE, Colliers International, and like I said, universities and hospitals. And there's this whole multiple verticals of business out there that we weren't touching and we weren't going after, but we also know that it's such a competitive environment to be in that if I walked in the door to Cushman and Wakefield, they would, blow me off and say, oh, we've already got a national contract with ServPro. We're good. We rarely have any issues. We don't need you. But when Rocky, spun that off and we shifted our focus trying to get in the commercial space, that's when he started One Tom Plumber. And so One Tom Plumber is really what changed my fortune because then I could go back to those same buildings, those same commercial property management companies and go in and offer something that they actually needed right now.
Right.
You don't need restoration on a regular basis, but what they do need is service plumbing on a regular.
All right, we're going to get into that One Tom Plumber advantage here in a little bit, but we're going to cover a lot of stuff today, guys. I want to extend an option or an opportunity for anybody that's not familiar with me, my agency, how we work. We're willing to do a free audit. Take a look at your website, take a look at your online reputation, take a look at your Google business profile, and make sure that you're just set up for success, right? Whether you have a salesperson already in the field or you're looking at hiring a business development rep, have us give it a run through just to make sure that they're not going to run into any conversations that they can't handle because your online presence is not a good representation of you, your restoration business, and the work that you do. You guys can scan that QR code or you can visit waterrestorationmarketing.com/schedule, fill out a little information, and that'll put you in touch with my team. Before we go too much further, Leah, let's talk about something that's really important because this is you can't just go out there and secure a bunch of commercial opportunities, right? The challenge is business to business sales is hard, right? I mean, you're going to run into how do you stay relevant, right? How do you stay top of mind, even when you have a good conversation with one of these property managers? How do you make sure that you are in their Rolodex or the first time they need your service, that you're the company that they call, right? This is something you're looking for a differentiator, right? Something that separates you from all of the other restoration companies out there that are doing the exact same thing over and over again. And as you mentioned, you people traditionally do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? So you've got to hire and train someone that those property managers or other will be comfortable and want to do some business with, right? You found that differentiator through One Tom Plumber, but there's a lot of things that you were doing before the One Tom Plumber that allowed you to be successful, right? Can you talk a little about some of those other differentiators that you did in the past before you guys started doing the One Tom Plumber?
Of course. I mean, some of it's me and some of it's the company, the business, right? I think Icon did a really great job of setting themselves apart from other restoration companies in the market because, we had a response time of 59 minutes or less. That's an impressive response time. And not to mention, we never sent a spotter in to like scope the job or estimate it first. We sent we dispatched with a crew with equipment ready to work. So we were on site working within an hour. Our commercial customer base loved that because that's all they care about is, response time, not all they care about, but a really big piece of it. And then also, I think like the professionalism and the brand and the way that you present yourself and your team does is huge because if you're calling on commercial property management, you might be in Class A buildings with doctors and lawyers and, just high-end business owners. So the tenants in those buildings have high expectations. Therefore, the property management company does too. So, they want a company that comes in a clean, well put together uniform, professional, no ma'am, yes sir, not smoking cigarettes on the porch and flicking their butts on the sidewalk, right?
Right.
So there are definitely some differentiators that you should do as a company to set yourself apart. But then as a BDR, you need to do the same thing. Don't want to be somebody that just goes in and canvasses and throws business cards at every business and say, hey, let me know if you ever have a flood, I'm here for you. You really have to build that relationship. And the way that you do that is through persistency and consistency and being creative and truly being a resource. Become valuable to that customer. Like, offer more than just what you do, right? Like Icon, we're a full service mitigation company, fire, water, mold, just like everybody else. But what can I bring to the table that's different? And so you have a question.
No. I'm thinking about this, and you're doing all of these things, going out there hunting that new business. But the restoration company owner that's on today's webinar needs to understand that BDR role is not strictly a sales role. It is a relationship builder and becomes somewhat of an account management role as well, right? You're not just going out there and hunting for new business. You're also making sure that the people that you brought on board, you continue to stay top of mind at so that the next time they have a need for you guys' services, that they're remembering Leah, they're remembering their BDR, and they're reaching out to you directly.
It's true. It's very important. And so with that in mind, you've got to give your BDRs some money, right? You need a little bit of money to kind of wine and dine people and build those relationships.
Sure.
So, there's a lot of things that you can do that have a really large impact without a lot of money. One of the things that I love to do is set up like a breakfast pitch or a lunch and learn meeting. So when I go in and introduce myself to a customer for the first time, or maybe it's the second visit or the third visit, I'm making repeat visits, trying to stay in front of them and let them know I'm not just the next rep that's going to throw a business card and walk out. You're never going to see him again. I keep coming back repeatedly and bringing in something of value, whether it's industry information or, hey, did I tell you about these services that we could do for you as well? Or, you just want to bring in something. Maybe you're bringing in a box of donuts, but and something every time you walk in that door, so you're not going in empty-handed and you have value.
All right. So before we get into best practices of that business development rep, let's take a second to talk about who actually makes for a successful BDR, right? Because there's people on this call that already have a salesperson that they've hired, or there are people that are considering making the investment and hiring their first business development rep for their restoration company. So I really want to talk specifically about what traits you looked for, or what traits you had, and now what traits you help the restoration companies that you work with when they're going out and they're hiring those business development reps to help take their restoration company to the next level.
It seems like it would be so basic, but apparently it's not. Number one, I think you should look for somebody who's already has some previous sales experience in some fashion, right?
Okay.
And I don't mean like working at TJ Maxx running the cash register, like that's not sales in my mind. I mean something that's already B2B or, cold calling and picking up the phone. You need somebody who has thick skin, who has high energy, that, won't be dejected every time they get a no, because you're going to get a lot of no's. So you have to be able to handle rejection, and go into the next call with just as much enthusiasm as you did the one before that just rejected you, right? And just be able to read people and have conversation with people, be observant and look at the walls and see what pictures they have and what are their interests and find commonalities.
I really like that. One of the things you said earlier was when you're going into like Class A office space, you've got property managers that have an expectation in terms of the aesthetics of the people that either occupy those office spaces or will come in and service those office spaces, right? So the person's professional appearance, whether we want to admit it or not, that's super important, especially when you're going out and trying to chase new business. So talk a little bit about what you look for from an aesthetic standpoint for a successful business development rep.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing is not to go in jeans. I mean, I know it's such a casual, comfortable thing and everybody wears jeans everywhere these days, but set yourself apart, look professional. It doesn't mean you need to come in a three-piece suit, right? But, we're all about, being branded is key too, so whether it's a polo shirt like what you're wearing with a logo on it or the shirt that I'm wearing, right? You just something that looks nice, professional, you're put together, logoed. You can wear a hat, but if you're wearing a hat, make sure it's facing forward. There's just certain standards that you should expect in a
And you can tell a lot from that initial interview when you invite that sales rep into or that prospect that is looking for a job as a sales rep. You can tell a lot by the way they show up for that interview, right? If that guy shows up in jeans and sneakers, untucked polo, not shaven, like that's a red flag, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Now you mentioned communication, right? The ability to quickly look at things like pictures on the wall. Maybe there's a football helmet in the office for a college team or something like that. That communication is absolutely like that eye, so that you can have that common ground with the property manager or whoever it is that you're trying to solicit for business there. How do you pick up on whether somebody has those skills during an interview process?
Well, a lot of times in the past, we used to do the DISC assessment test.
Okay.
So I think that's certainly a good thing to do, or like the Myers-Briggs or whatever. There's a million personality tests out there. I do like that option. But one of the things that we do here is we do like a working interview. And so we will bring somebody in for the day. I mean, after we've already done maybe a preliminary interview over the phone or a Zoom or whatever, and we feel like, okay, this one has some legs. Let's bring them in. First, we'll have them meet with every person in the company, carry on a conversation, just engage with them and see how they do with that, right? And we're going to follow up with everybody that they talk to that day to see, well, how did you interact? What do you think? Do you see them part of the team? Will they fit our culture? Because you want the buy-in from everybody, and you want to make sure that individual has the skill set to do that. If they can't go and interact with everybody in your company, how are they going to go out and represent you on the street, right? So I think that's really important. And then we'll often take them out to lunch as well, and get them a little bit more in a relaxed personal setting, because
I like that.
people will show their true colors then, right? When they're no longer, in that face-to-face interview situation where they're trying to answer all the questions, right? Take them to lunch, their guard comes down, and you'll see their true personality.
One of the things I think, whether you're out there selling commercial restoration services, or in my case, we've got a team that promotes digital marketing services, you're right. You have to build know, like, and trust relationships there.
Mhm.
And I think when you're going out and you're looking for the right salesperson, they can't just be that greasy sales guy that's trying to sell you a Cadillac when you walk onto the parking lot of the dealership, right? You've got to find someone that fits you guys' company culture, and somebody that's not only going to be hungry and go out there and sell and close new business, but also is good with managing relationships and continuing to show up when they say they're going to show up and do the things they're supposed to continue to foster those relationships. Have you ever had like a rock star that you thought, oh God, this guy's going to be great at, or this girl's going to be great at this because their sales is so keen, but they couldn't do the other parts of cultivating those relationships that made them successful?
Absolutely. I've seen it on both sides. I've seen the person that seems to be like relatively reserved and you think, I'm not sure how well this is going to work out. And then you put them in a social setting and they drink like a fish and party like there's no tomorrow. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that's not who I want representing us. Right. And then on the flip side too, you think they shine in that interview and they've got this personality. And one of the other things I failed to mention before is that we'll often take them out, take the salesperson out on a ride along and do a day of shadowing. And that's a really good indicator too, because if you are taking them around and, they're just following you and they're standing against the wall as like a wallflower and they're not engaging in every office you walk into, they're not going to be the person for you.
Yeah. You cannot be a wallflower and be successful as a business development representative in the restoration space. All right, so let's talk. You started rattling off some best practices, right? Some things that you used to do when you were first starting your career as a business development rep that led to a lot of success for you. Obviously, averaging a couple $1 million a year in new commercial businesses is or rock star numbers there. Talk a little bit about showing up empty-handed when you're out there knocking doors and trying to meet folks in a commercial space.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, number one, just come in with something. Like if you just come in with your business card, often your business card doesn't say enough, right? It doesn't really tell them who you are or what you're doing. So if you just leave that behind and nothing else, it's just going to end up in the garbage can, right? So you do want to have some marketing materials of some sort that say who you are, some type of a brochure. But then, we invest a lot of money in what we call swag, but it's good swag, right? Like, it's
Okay.
good swag. And I say that because, if you, notepads and pens are inexpensive and, they stick around. I mean, who doesn't want a notepad with check boxes down the side of it? Something like this is going to sit on your desk.
I could use one of those right now.
Yeah, see, you could. So pens and notepads are great. They're going to stick around. People don't throw them away. But if you come in with, I can't even come up with a poor example because I don't have any in front of me, because I have all cool stuff. But maybe it's just, I don't know, a chapstick or no, I'm drawing a blank here.
Those squeezy balls or the stress balls and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that just something that's too insignificant that it's like I need another chapstick, right? Or no way, I have my favorite chapstick. I'm not going to use this, and it gets thrown away. But we invest in things that we know are going to stay on customers' desks, right? So, like this handy little thing right here, if you can see it, it's a little phone wedge. Can you tell what that?
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's dual branded with icon on the sides and one Tom Plumber on the front. But it'll hold your phone. You can set it on your desk and it holds your phone this way or this way. And then the bottom of it is actually a screen cleaner, so you can clean your screen.
Look at that. All right,
Again,
guys.
it's squishy like a bean bag. You can throw it and have fun with it. But that thing will sit on someone's desk for years.
All right. So basically, if you're listening to this, understand that you got to invest in something that not only has a branding purpose, but also has a function that property manager or owner is going to have to keep that thing around for a while, right?
They will. They will.
All right. So we talked about swag. Talked about, are you a donut girl? Do you bring the donuts and the cookies?
Sometimes, if I'm making some early calls and I know that maybe it's an office where all of the, let's say all the maintenance crew gets together in the morning. I know there's going to be a lot of people there. Yeah, I'll bring in donuts. Not something I do on a regular basis. I'm kind of, this sounds horrible, but I'll say I'm kind of like the candy girl. Early on, we invested in some nicely branded glass candy jars. And so I had delivered those to customers. And then it turned into I couldn't just bring them a new candy jar, right? But I needed to fill their candy jar. So I'd buy a bunch of candy, Costco.
Sure.
And just go in with a big bag of candy and refill their candy jars. Because if I've already given them all the information I could give them. I've told them all of our services. I've talked about industry updates. Um, I've given them all the value I can, but I still don't want to walk in there empty-handed. At least walk in with some candy and refill their candy jar. They'll be excited, like, "Oh, yay, we were out of candy. We're excited you're here."
Now, you've mentioned like lunch and learns and breakfasts. Talk a little bit about how you leverage those meals or opportunities to get yourself in front of the right prospects.
No, those are really great tools because I don't think I've run into a company or an industry yet that doesn't do at a minimum quarterly trainings with their team.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're weekly meetings with their team. But it's a great way after you've got your main point of contact you've developed a relationship with. You need to now get in front of the rest of their team. You can't just rely on that one person's going to be the one that sends you all the work, right? You need to talk to the building engineer, the maintenance supervisor, the maintenance techs. You need to get in front of everybody because they're the ones really dealing with the problems on a regular basis. They're the ones picking up the phone. So, and the best way to get to them is with food. So it truly is. I mean, they love it, right? So go in and talk to that property manager and say, "Hey, do you guys do, weekly meetings with your entire team or quarterly trainings?" And they'll tell you they do and say, "Well, I would love to come to your next meeting. I'll bring, if it's a breakfast meeting, I'll bring breakfast for your entire team. Or if it's a lunch meeting, I'll bring lunch to your entire team." And do a little dog and pony show, right? I want to make sure I introduce all of our services, everything that we can do to your team and get to know them and let them ask questions so we can get to know each other. And then I can find out what your pain points are, where you guys need help, and you can learn what we can do to fill in the gaps.
I really like that. And it's important because you have to understand these property managers or these facilities people, they know other people that are facilities people at other buildings. So you got to make sure that you ask for referrals, get contact information so that you can continue to build that network that's going to lead to more opportunities for you and the restoration company you're working with.
Absolutely.
All right.
Always ask.
All right. So let's talk about being a true resource because that's one of the things that you mentioned earlier in the conversation is really becoming like a one-stop shop, right? Where you can not only help them with the services that you offer as a restoration company, but also you've got relationships with other home, like property service vendors, right? To be able to connect them. So talk a little bit about that, what that network looks like for you.
Yeah, so it's you definitely want to grow your network of people just in the industry, right? As you mentioned, like every property manager, like every Cushman and Wakefield's of the world, they're dealing with lots of different vendors, right? They need a janitorial service. They need a concrete paving company. They need a snow removal company. They need they need restoration. They need plumbing. They have all of these services that they need vendors for. So, I encourage people to join industry organizations where if they're twofold. One, you get to know all the other people that are working in sort of the somewhat same industry, but calling on the same customer base.
Okay.
And two, the people that come to this, you've got a lot of vendors that come to these events, but then the events or these organizations are designed for property managers, facility maintenance managers, things of that nature. So you're getting an opportunity to get in front of all of these people by joining the organization, but you're also creating a network of people that you can pull from later. So as becoming a resource, what I mean by that is when you go in and you build a relationship with a commercial property manager and you tell them, yes, I do water, fire, mold, let me know if you need help. I tell them, like, don't think of me as just a restoration company that can just do water mitigation or fire restoration. There's probably things I can do that you don't even realize it can do.
Sure.
Like, for example, I told all of my customers, call me if there's anything you need, because if we can't do it, I'm sure I know somebody who can, just from all the networking relationships I have. But we've picked up all kinds of, I call it like silly business, but it's great business. Like, who's heard of Firewatch? Do you know what Firewatch is?
No, what's Firewatch?
Okay. So all commercial buildings have fire suppression systems. They have to be monitored and working operational 24/7. If for some reason the fire panel goes out, electricity goes out, a transformer blows, and their fire suppression system is no longer monitoring that commercial building, then by law, the fire department requires you to have somebody live at that building on a 24-hour rotation, like constantly, 24 hours.
Wow. Okay.
They have to walk the perimeter of the building. They have to walk every floor of the building. So I had a customer call me once and they said, I know this isn't what you do, but I'm in a pickle. My fire suppression system went down. I need Firewatch. And I did the same thing. I'm like, what's Firewatch? And then they educated me, right? But now I know. So I'm like, yeah, I've got technicians that are sitting around doing nothing right now. I mean, it's not rocket science. I just need a body to show up and walk the perimeter of this building.
And boom, you created another service for your company that you guys can obviously make some money off of. And it makes you really indispensable to that property manager, that facilities manager, whoever you're working with in that business there. We're going to talk in a second about kind of plumbing and restoration and why that's a good thing. But you mentioned kind of expanding your reach, right, through local industry organizations, right? So walk us through some of these industry organizations and kind of where you've had your best success.
So I do believe every market is different. So I'd encourage you to look at all of these organizations and see which ones are going to work best for you.
Okay.
In Cincinnati, I love BOMA. BOMA is Building Owners and Management Association.
Okay.
So the people that belong to that are mostly property managers and assistant property managers.
Okay.
And of like large real estate companies, the Cushmans and the CBREs and those types of businesses. And there's a lot of like smaller property management companies out there that are maybe localized for your area or your region, but they'll belong to that organization as well. And you have to get in front of those people because those people are the ones that are going to get you set up as an approved vendor and, get you credentialed, right? But then if you look at an organization like IFMA, that's the International Facilities Maintenance Association.
There you go.
I forget all of the acronyms. But that one's going to draw a lot of like building engineers, maintenance supervisors, more of the technician side of it or the maintenance side of it. Mm-hmm. And that's important because you need all of the maintenance people, the facilities directors, those are the ones that are dealing with the problem. So join all the organizations that you can. Yes, they cost money, but maybe $800 a year or something. But they offer a ton of value. Every month they have meetings, and usually they're social events, right? So they're fun too.
So you're not just joining these associations. You got to go to the events. You got to be around the people in the organization.
Be an active participant. Go to every happy hour they host. Go to every event they do. They usually do annual golf outings. You can sponsor a hole at the golf outing. You can put a foursome together and invite some clients to play with you, but be a part of it. They usually all do like little annual trade shows for their organization, and they invite all the vendors in. Well, all the property managers and facilities guys come to that as well. Set up a booth, showcase your product, and meet as many people as you can.
All right. So you can do all of this other stuff, and this is great for whoever is on today's call, whether you've got a salesperson or hiring your first business development rep, or maybe you're still wearing that hat in your restoration company right now. Everything that we've talked to up to this point is an actionable item that you can take tomorrow or this afternoon, implement, and have more success generating commercial opportunities for you. But Leah, going from Icon now to One Tom Plumber, you guys have kind of cracked a different code, a different way to get your foot in the door with these commercial properties so that you can not only get emergency plumbing business, but also leverage that relationship to get more restoration business. So let's talk a little bit more about One Tom Plumber.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, you need that differentiator, and that's what One Tom Plumber really became for us. And it became much more than that. But when you walk into a business, it's hard to stand out and be different. I walk in with the Icon Property Rescue logo. I'm another restoration company. But when I walked in the door with a pink plunger in my hand, something that is completely odd, unique, different, people look at you like you're crazy.
100%.
Why are you walking in with a pink plunger? Why are you like swinging this pink plunger around? It's a fantastic icebreaker and conversation starter. So people will naturally smile. They'll be puzzled, they'll engage with you, they'll ask questions. What's up with the pink plunger? So it's a fantastic way to get a conversation starter and break the ice, and then start talking to them about their plumbing needs. And their eyes will light up, because nobody in the plumbing industry has BDRs out there, right? They just don't put salespeople in the field. So going in and talking about something that the customer actually needs every day, it opens up a whole new world.
Yeah, let's be honest. The restoration needs happen from time to time in a commercial space, but plumbing emergencies happen weekly, monthly.
In some, honestly, daily in some cases. Like multifamily housing, that's our lowest hanging fruit for one Tom plumber. It doesn't always convert to the same amount of work, on the restoration side, because I think we all know, apartment complexes, multifamily can be relatively cheap, and they like to cut corners and not follow IICRC protocol when it comes to mitigation work. But on the plumbing side, they have to take care of their tenants. Their tenants have to have running sinks and flushing toilets. Like, it just has to get done. And, these property management companies have so many doors, right? So many buildings with so many doors. They can't possibly keep enough maintenance guys on staff to meet the needs. So they have to outsource it. So we get multiple jobs a day out of just multifamily property management.
So the revenue coming in off of those emergency plumbing jobs is great, but you guys have figured out a way to leverage that relationship as their go-to plumbing company to establish restoration opportunities for you. So talk a little bit about what that framework looks like.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it before. Everything we do is dual branded, or maybe I didn't mention it, but so don't sell one without the other. Your BDR should be representing both your one Tom Plumber location as well as your restoration company, and offering that one-stop shopping experience. I tell my customers, I don't care who you call. You can call Icon or you can call one Tom Plumber, because you're going to get both services with that one phone call, because we cross-train dispatchers at both companies to listen for those cues and ask the right questions and tee up the job for the sister company, right? So becoming a one-stop shop is truly key. And so by doing that, you do everything dual branded. My company car is dual branded. My business cards are double-sided and dual branded. Marketing materials are. So I'm always selling both. But one Tom Plumber is that door kicker. One Tom Plumber is the reason they start talking to me in the beginning, because they have service plumbing needs. And then they have a positive experience. We provide great service. And you build natural trust then on the restoration side. I'm like, wow, if they do such a great job over here with my plumbing needs, then surely they're going to take care of me on the restoration side too.
So my restoration company owners that are on the call today, this isn't really a pitch for one Tom Plumber, but I do want to explain the opportunity, because they have successfully added this franchise to dozens of restoration companies across the country, over 100 franchisees right now. And these franchisees are current restoration companies that saw an opportunity to leverage this emergency plumbing service as a way to get in the door. And not only are they getting that emergency plumbing revenue, they're also creating relationships that are turning into that commercial restoration work that they ultimately want, right?
Right. Well, and you get multiple opportunities. Like, you've got BDRs out there, building the relationships and selling to both companies. But what also happens is, I'm sure as most of you can attest to, water mitigation jobs come generally from a plumbing loss. I mean, unless it's a foundation leak or roof leak, it's as a result of some type of a plumbing loss. So plumbers are usually the ones getting the first phone call. I mean, that's why so many of us have gone out and paid plumbers to send those referrals to us.
100%.
So why not take control of that opportunity? Be the plumber that they call, so that you obviously can take that phone call, schedule that job, and get that revenue. But then you've got that customer captive. They're on the phone. Make sure your dispatchers are utilizing that time, and saying, okay, Mrs. Jones, your floor drain's backed up in your basement. Yes, I'll send a drain tech out right away to clear that for you. But since you said it's backed up, does that mean you've got water or sewage puddling in your basement? We can send our mitigation team, our sister company, out at the same time. Don't ever give the customer a job to do. You have your dispatcher tell the customer, I will go ahead and get the mitigation team out there. We'll take care of that for you. And then you hang up, and your dispatcher calls your restoration dispatcher and says, I've got a job for you.
And one Tom Plumber is building a really good brand, right? This is very unique branding. The pink plungers, the pink automobile, the pink service vehicles out there in the field there. It's a really cool brand, and I can only see it growing. And that brand power for anybody that invests in one of your franchises, they're going to see the return on that, right? Because you guys are doing all of the things to create this trusted brand for emergency plumbing services and ultimately restoration services there. All right, so for anybody in the audience that's interested, talk a little bit about how you guys plug in these franchisees or this one-time plumber franchise into a current restoration company.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly very simple. Like if you have, obviously, you've got a restoration company, if you've got space in your existing building, you can literally drop a one-time plumber franchise inside your current space. So you don't have to go out and get more real estate. You just need to have the designated space for one-time plumber, so that it has its own separate entrance. You open the door, it's branded with one-time plumber, pink and black, and, you've got workspace, you've got a little bit of warehouse space that would be necessary for it. But, we're trying to make this as turnkey and plug and play as possible. So, we've got all of the branding templates for you. We'll tell you exactly how to decorate your office and what you need in order to get Google verified, because that's key.
Trust me, I understand the verification headaches that people run into.
Gotta get that. But then everything else after that, like we have a whole onboarding team. We train all of your employees. We've got a supply division that you can get everything through: trucks, tools, parts, apparel. Like everything can be sourced through us. It's not required to be sourced through us, but it can be. I don't know why you wouldn't do it, right? We've got national buying power.
No need to reinvent the wheel either. So we're talking about turning your restoration company into a one-stop shop for commercial property. You're going to have a built-in support system using one-time plumber. These are not people that don't understand the restoration industry. All of you guys came from the restoration industry. And you'll have, obviously, buying power in that partnership, right? And you guys are going to continue to leverage the one-time plumber brand to create more opportunities for all of your franchisees.
Absolutely. And what we're really proud of too is that we've developed a fantastic network of, not only new plumbing franchises, but restoration owners. I mean, we are very particular about who we onboard. We don't just sell a franchise to anybody that comes to the table with the money, because what we're really trying to do is make the restoration industry better as well as the plumbing industry. So we want like-minded people that have the same values and goals as we do, and that are good to work with, right? We're going to be working with you a lot.
Listen, I've met some of your franchisees at events, and they are absolutely a pleasure. You guys are really building great culture over there. For anybody attending today's webinar, if you're interested in having conversations with, if you're interested in having conversations with Leah and the team over at One Time Plumber, we created a QR code. It's going to take you to a landing page that'll give you some additional information about their franchise opportunity. You can fill out a little form. Leah or somebody on the team will be reaching out to you to see if ultimately it's a good fit for you, right? All right, so we've talked about, and again, if you did not scan that QR code now, no worries. We'll put it in the description. We're going to send out a follow-up email that'll have that link and stuff for you, Leah. All right, so we talked a little bit about everything that you can do out in the street, right? All the ways that you could equip your business development rep to be successful out there, having those conversations and trying to cultivate those relationships. But what I see from a digital marketing standpoint is sometimes that restoration company has not set themselves up well so that business development rep can be successful. Can you imagine a world, Leah, where you were out there trying to generate business for a restoration company that had a website that looks like it was built in 2000, had no social proof, no customer reviews, no featured projects, nothing? Would that make your job easier or harder?
Hard as hell. No, it's true, because it's one of my selling features too. When I go in and I talk to somebody about one-time plumber, I'm like, man, look at us. We've got 25,000 5-star Google reviews across our network. Like it's.
And make no mistake about it, whether they like that business development rep that comes through the door or not, they're still going to do their due diligence on that business before they commit to even that first job, that first opportunity, right? So it's really important, if you're a restoration company, you don't already have a website that makes you look like a multiple 7-figure type restoration company. You need to invest in that. Gone are the days where you can build your entire business strictly off referrals or strictly off TPA work. Having some visibility and some credibility credibility on the internet is going to be really, really important to you, whether you're chasing residential or chasing commercial opportunities there. You also want to make sure that on that website, you're really highlighting the commercial services that you offer, right? The industries that you serve, whether it's multifamily properties, whether it is, restaurants, commercial office space, Class A office space. So you really want to make a reference to that on the website so that they don't feel like they're going to be your first commercial account, right? All right. So showcasing your business development reps online. You really want to make your team the rock star, right? As a business owner, I see a lot of restoration companies. They've got the husband and wife. They're the ones featured on the website there, but they also have 20 other team members. And some of those team members are the people that are actually out in the community trying to cultivate those relationships. So why not make that business development rep a star as well, right? So a lot of the websites that we've built recently, we actually have featured bios, pictures on the website for specific team members. And I think a business development rep would probably be one of those people that you'd want to feature on your website, on your social media. Does that make sense to you as well, Leah?
Oh, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think the BDR person is key, but also your lead technicians too, the people in the field that your client's actually going to interact with. Highlight them, make them visible as well.
I like that. You mentioned know, like, and trust. And an easy way for that potential commercial property to like your business is to get to know, like, and trust the various team members that they might be working at. So highlighting them, their role, their experience, that can really make it easier when they're out there knocking doors and trying to generate and cultivate. That you never know who's already visited your website. They could bump into you at one of those industry events and they could already know who you are based on a bio or some posts on social media that they saw. Have you ever had that happen to you, Leah? Because I know you're all over the place on social. So have you ever had somebody run into you at an industry event and they already knew who you were based on something they saw on the
I
internet?
have. And then they talk to me like I know them. I'm like, I so then I'm caught off guard. But yes, that does happen.
I think restoration companies as a whole really need to use social media as a way to humanize their business, right? Separate themselves from some of the larger commercial brand that literally they have no face. They just have brand. So whether it's One Tom Plumber or your restoration company, you want to highlight and feature your team to humanize them and give them a better opportunity to create great relationships for commercial business there. Google business profiles are also another thing. Like we talked about how when somebody searches a business, whether it's Icon Property Rescue in Google, like the first things that show up are going to be their Google business profile, their website, their social media pages there. If that Google business profile is one of the first things that you see, you want to make sure that that thing is built out thoroughly, right? You want to make sure all the services that you offered are listed, all of the photos that you have of team members, of job sites, of work that you've done, not just residential work, but you also want to put some of those commercial pictures, right? So that you can show that commercial property that you guys had experience servicing their type of business, right? Do you guys take a lot of pictures?
Oh, we do, yeah. And we're constantly changing those photos and updating it and keeping it fresh and current. So I think that's important too.
And you have the opportunity on something like a Google business profile to make sure that you're listing out all the services, not just restoration services, but also those plumbing services that you can now provide to commercial opportunities there. Again, Google business profiles, whoever you're out there soliciting commercial business from, they're going to see that. So you want to make sure that that Google business profile and that website are a good representation of you, your restoration business, your team members who ultimately are looking to secure that business and kind of grow the company there. Let's talk about reviews. Reviews are important, right? Even when you're going out there and having conversations with property managers, property owners, are they going to do their due diligence and see what kind of reputation like an Icon Property Rescue has out there?
They usually do. I mean, it's that's why we really put an emphasis on it at both Icon and One Tom Plumber. I mean, every job our technicians are required to ask for that 5-star Google review. But even us as BDRs, we go in and ask for them too. Like, if our team did a great job, can you please give us that 5-star Google review? It makes a world of difference when somebody's looking for restoration or plumbing near me if you've got those 5-star Google reviews.
100%. We try to instill on all of our clients that we do any kind of digital marketing work, how important it is for them to empower their technicians, their sales reps, their project managers, even the people in the office. If a homeowner or a business owner has a good experience with your company, the first thing you need to do is ask them to go on to Google and write that 5-star review. It's going to make all the difference in the world in terms of your online reputation and securing that next opportunity there. You guys really have training in place to make sure those business development reps are soliciting those reviews?
We do. We actually do incentives. So we incentivize like all of our plumbers to get those reviews, and we actually say we pay them and we give them more money if they get a review with a photo. So if you check out One Time Plumber, you'll see a ton of reviews with photos with, the technician stand there with the plunger with the customer. So
I like that.
we have a lot of fun with it too.
I like that. Let's also talk a little bit about social proof when it comes to commercial job opportunities. You don't want that property manager to think that you're the first. They're going to be your first commercial account, right? So you want to post stuff on your website, on your Google business profile, on your social media of you and your team servicing commercial properties in the community. Do you guys encourage your franchisees to do that, not only on their restoration side, but also on the one-time plumber side?
We do. Absolutely. And we often, like on the BDR side, we'll come up with creative things. Like, for example, we did a pumpkin carving contest, and we threw that out to all of our franchises. Do a pumpkin carving contest and go deliver a bunch of pumpkins to all the different property management companies you call on, and have them carve a pumpkin, take a photo, send it in to us. Then we post it on our social media and we get to vote. So it's a way to expand that network and show everybody else like who all we're doing business with.
Fun stuff like that. What we call featured projects, when we post them to our clients' websites and their Google business profile and their social, where we've got before and after pictures and a kind of a brief description of what work they did. Do that on the residential side. Do it on the commercial side. Lots of photos, lots of testimonials. That's ultimately what's going to drive that social proof that potential client could be looking for when they do their due diligence on your business. You want to show everybody that you've already worked with customers like them and you've delivered exceptional results there. All right, so let's talk about how sales and marketing align, right? That's really the whole core of the conversation today, right? The sales reps are out there building the relationships. And I think Leah gave us some great ideas in terms of best practices for your sales reps to do on a day-to-day basis to make sure that they're servicing more of those or creating more of those opportunities. The marketing and stuff online really is to build trust and allow them to scale, right? The two things should complement each other. Leah, do you think you'd be as successful, especially back in the old Icon property rescue days, do you think you'd be as successful if Icon didn't have a good, solid online presence and do online marketing?
No, we definitely wouldn't. And we've put a lot of emphasis into that over the years, and it's become more and more relevant in today's society. I mean, everybody is Googling and searching. Nobody makes any type of buying decisions without doing some research. So it's imperative. I mean, it's just as imperative as having boots on the ground and building the relationships, because they're going to cross reference or fact check you, right?
Yeah. I think if you take anything away from today's conversation, it is that you need both, right? You need a strong online presence. You need a great reputation online, but you also need somebody that's willing to go out there, hustle, knock the doors, create the relationships, cultivate those relationships, and do a great job servicing those clients. A couple little takeaways from today. First of all, hire and train business development reps with the right skills. Leah gave some great insight as to what some of the characteristics she looks for when she's helping their franchisees find their next business development rock star. You want to differentiate yourself, right? Not just through professionalism, but also through some of the things that you show up with. And One Tom Plumber does a great job of that. Not just with their swags, but man, those those pink plungers make all the difference in the world, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And then you ultimately want to use your online presence, right, to back up everything that business development rep is saying to that property manager when they're out there trying to cultivate those relationships there. And then finally, you can use everything that we talked about to really build a long-term and scalable plan to add more commercial revenue to your restoration business. And One Tom Plumber, that could be a great opportunity. So if you guys liked what you heard about One Tom Plumber, I really want to encourage you guys again, scan the QR code, fill out the information, reach out to Leah and her team. They'll contact you and ultimately see. They don't work with everybody, So they'll ultimately see if you and your restoration company are a good fit for a One-Time Plumber franchise. So, and then on our side here, if you guys want us to take a quick look at your online presence, make sure it's solid so that you don't have sales reps out in the field spinning their wheels and not getting return phone calls because that online presence is lacking. We'd love an opportunity to meet and do a quick audit for you. So you can use the QR code below or go to autorestorationmarketing.com/schedule. Kevin, do we have any? I know we're going over time now, but do we have any quick questions in the chat?
None right now.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, good. This went along. Leah, I really want to thank you for joining us. Those of you who sat through this, I hope you really got some value out of this. I am very impressed with Leah as a salesperson, but I'm also really impressed with One-Time Plumber and what they're doing for restoration companies that I've actually met. This isn't like theory, right? I actually went to events and I've met some of their franchisees and they've talked about some of the success that they've been able to reach in terms of commercial restoration business because they've implemented the One-Time Plumber strategies there. So Leah, thank you very much for getting on the webinar with me today.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on and us doing this together. I think it's a great collaboration. We both have good insight for our restoration.
Love it. Thank you guys for joining us. Look for a follow-up email that will have a link to Leah and the One-Time Plumber landing page so you guys can check out that opportunity. We'll have a replay of today's webinar. And then, of course, if you want to reach out to the Water Restoration Marketing team, we'd love to have a conversation with you regarding your online presence. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Kevin, for facilitating here. Everybody have a great rest of your week and a great holiday weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.